Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about my opinion of the 24, 35, 70-200 and 85 millimeter G Master lenses for Sony. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about when you first get that mirrorless body I shoot for Sony. This is just my opinion of these lenses. I'm not paid by Sony. I'm not paid by any other people like that. This is just my opinion. And sometimes I look for people to have their opinions that's not being paid by somebody. And I understand they're still going to be biased and they're still going to have their opinion, but there's no money being changed or anything like that. So what I want to talk about is when I first bought my A7 III from Sony. That was my first mirrorless camera, and I came from Nikon. I had all my lenses for Nikon, I had all the primes, I had everything I needed for Nikon, and I knew mirrorless was becoming that next level of that. What you see is what you get mentality. So I bought a Sony A7 III with a kit lens, and went on our first, one of our cruises that we went on, I took that as a play around camera kind of thing like that. Very simple kit lens, and I just had to get used to the optics of not guessing what apertures were and things like that, as far as trying to see what the scene was before. It was raise it up, adjustment, click, done. So there was a lot of like joy that came with that. So now transitioning from Nikon to Sony, that was the big caveat to if you jump ship, it's an expensive process. So I love the 85 millimeter. It is by far the first lens that I ever purchased, whether it was Nikon or Sony, but there's just something about that 85 prime 1.8 lens that is just game changing when it comes to that. But you can't shoot everything at 85. Sometimes as a wedding photographer, for me, now I have two A7 IIIs, and so I have the same bodies on both sides and my lens can go back together. Settings are the same, so you set one, set the other, and you're good to go. When you do one body different than another, the sensor might be a little bit different, so there's a benefit to having two cameras the same. So now, going into 2023, I purchased my second A7 IV. Got a really good deal on Cyber Monday. I have that now, and I have two of those. So I'm going to retire the A7 III. I'm going to use one for just studio work, and I'm going to sell the other one. I have two A7 IVs now that I'm going to be shooting with. So what I want to talk to you guys today about is the lenses. For me, and I think any person you ask, they're always going to tell you what do you want to take pictures of, and 90% of the people are going to say portraits. It's a great portrait lens. Is the 85 millimeter 1.8 85, and it's ridiculously sharp, and it blurs out the background, and it separates, the person from the background, and it's just an absolute killer lens. Love it. So once I started evolving in my lenses, I went into the 24-70, which is on my other camera body, 24-70 G Master 2.8 version 1, and I wanted to have another zoom lens for my second body, so I have the 70-200 2.8 G Master from Sony also. I now have version 2. I sold version 1. Ridiculously, that 2.8, everything that I need. Sometimes everybody's like, well, if you use a prime, just walk in closer. Sometimes that's not possible, and sometimes you just want to get in a little bit closer to catch that kiss just before that moment just before the kiss, and you walking 5 feet closer. You got to remember there's people behind you too, so just with that zoom, it's able to be better. So I'm on the cusp of prime lenses over zoom lenses, and that's another video for another time. So my next lens after that was the 24 millimeter G Master 1.4. Wow. I love to capture the scenes with the clients. If you want just the bride and groom or the engaged couple or anything like that, the 85 isolates them and it blurs out the background, and it's beautiful. I like to do both. So I bought the 24 G Master, and this is good for astro photography also, but I didn't use it for that. Ridiculously, wow, such a great background separator when it comes to the 24 millimeter. Love the lens, love the lens. I'm going to leave all the links in the descriptions below just to get you to go to where I purchased them from. So love the 24. The drawback to the 24 is instead of bringing 5 lenses, I'm trying to be a little bit more efficient with bringing 2. So I went out and with the 24 millimeter, if I want to get in close to that bride and groom as they're going in for that kiss during the engagement session, stuff like that, you got to come to a good here to get in really close to kind of isolate the two of them with their heads and their eyeballs and their lips, and they're giving that kiss kind of thing like that. With the 24 millimeter, you are definitely a little bit more intrusive when it comes to that. So pros to it, cons to that. There's going to be pros and cons to every lens. Every lens and every photographer is going to have their own opinion. So I looked into the 35 millimeter. I have the 35 millimeter 1.4 G Master. I love third-party lenses. I have the Sigma 105. Ridiculously amazing lens, but it's a beast. It's got some weight to it. It's got, but I don't mind that. Some people complain about the bodies of the A7 IIIs. So you have a wrestler's hand and that big. Don't complain about the body being too small. They're not making them for wrestlers. They're making them for the normal consumers like myself, the average people. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of weight that comes with the 105 and aftermarket Sigmas, Tamrons, and everything else like that. And I'm not here to discuss and poo-poo either one of them. What you can afford, that's what you want to do. So I bought 2 bodies, A7 III, A7 III, and then I bought 1 lens at a time. I did not buy everything all at once. I couldn't afford to do it. And anybody in there that does not have, unlimited resources and actually works and actually makes money at photography or whatever your day job is, if you're doing both, go for it. So there's just not, it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I bought 1 lens at a time. Bought the 85, very inexpensive. Bought the 51.2, love the lens, another good prime lens. It just wasn't in this category of what I was talking about. So going back to the 35 millimeter, that is so similar to the 24. You're going to get the same background separation. You're going to get that same 1.4. You're going to get that same, everything about the 35 and the 24 are very similar G Master lenses that it's almost like too impossible to talk about, except for the 35 millimeter. It just gives you that extra distance back, almost 3 feet back from the 24 to get the separation that you want or that closeness of you want. I'd rather be a little bit 3 feet away. I'd rather be 4 feet away from my couple trying to take a picture than 2.5 feet away from the couple trying to take a picture. That's just me. They know what I'm doing, but when they open up their eyes and I'm like right in their eyeballs, it's like that could be like a little bit, intrusive. So the 85 is ideal for the distance and not incorporating too much of the background unless you're like 35 feet back. The 35 millimeter is like, for me, the ideal distance of going back to 20 feet, getting all of the background that I need and incorporating the bride and groom in that lower thirds or in the center, however you're doing it creatively, and then walk in about 10 feet and now I've got a nice shot of just the bride and groom, head to toe, come in a little bit more and get that waist up shot and stuff like that. So then the ring on the hand and the turning the rings around and things like that. So that's where, for me, the 35 is a step above the 24, only because of the focusing distance and the distance between the subject and the photographer. If you're on the fence between the 24 and the 35, they're very identical. There's really not too much difference. If you look, they're basically maybe, I think there's like a couple of ounces difference between the two. It's maybe 1/4 of an inch taller when it comes to that. So it's not like ridiculously different. It's just the focaling point. Aperture is the same. I want to make sure and double check that. 1.4, 1.4. So the girth and the diameter of it is just a little bit bigger, but nothing like earth-shattering, this, to something like, this. So if you're on the cusp between the 24 and the 35, my recommendation would be the 35, just because not everybody wants to be as close to the engaged couple at the time of taking that picture. So it gives you that distance to be back just a little bit further. Now, if you're looking for bokeh, 85 1.8, 35 1.4, both ideal and better than the 70 to 200 at 2.8. It's just a different, that stop and a half of 2.8 down to 1.4, it's just that much more blurred background when it comes to that. So I love the 85 when it comes to that. Sometimes you want that distance between the bride and groom, so I'll zoom all the way out to 200, be at that 2.8, focusing everything I want, and then I'll get that background to be blurred out exactly the way that I wanted, and it'll be comparable to the 1.4 and the 1.8. Is it exactly the same? No. You're always going to get better backgrounds with the 1.4, 1.2, 1.8. Hands down, there's no question with that. Versatility, 70 to 200, you get to keep a little bit of distance between. This is what I call my social distancing lens. This is the one that you got to go back further just to get that close up, or at 200 to go further back to get all of that. So, and people laugh and joke because everybody knows what social distancing is. So this is the lens that I love to go to when I come to being further away from somebody, if I've got a cold or something like that. So this is another good versatile lens. But if you're on the fence between the 24 and the 35, for me, the deciding factor, I have both. I bought the 24 first, bought that, did some weddings. I wanted to invest some more and have a little bit of a write-off before the end of the year. So I bought the 35, love them both. I use the 35 more than the 24. I may even sell the 24. I ain't gonna get my money back for it, and that's okay. I'd rather give somebody just starting out in photography that wants to kind of get that blurred background kind of thing like that, the opportunity to get a really good piece of glass and not have to spend as much money as I did. I think I spent over $2,000 when it came to that. I think the 70 to 200 2.8 version 2 is almost $2,800. I don't know what the lenses are price-wise. I'm going to link them down below. So 85 is ideal for the 1.8 and keeping that distance, but if you want to incorporate the background, you go back even further. 24 is even better than that because now you can incorporate the background and isolate the bride and groom in the bottom third or anything like that. The 35 when you want to come in a little bit closer. So if you're on the fence between the 24 and the 35, 35 would be ideal because it gives you the distance between the bride and groom or the couple so that there's less, intrusiveness when it comes to that. But that's just me. This is just my opinion. I'm not paid by anybody. I could just be a nobody, and that's okay. Somebody's going to listen to that because they're going to want to know a little bit of the details when it comes to that. So on the fence, 24 to 35, 24 or 35. 35 is going to be ideal if you're on the fence between the two. It's not a matter of third market or aftermarket or third party kind of lenses like that. Buy what you can afford, but you do get what you pay for when it comes to that. Just remember that. I'm a firm believer when I buy a brand new car, I want that factory warranty that comes along with it just because I want that peace of mind. When you buy G Master, there's peace of mind. When you buy name brand, Canon, Nikon, those lenses, there's peace of mind. My Sigma, I love it. There's peace of mind. Less of a price tag when it comes to that. The 105 is like the super distance of, but the bokeh is ridiculous. So if you're on the fence between the 24 and the 35, 35 is the way to go. So thank you guys for coming back to the channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications, and thank you guys for coming back. I got another video coming out very soon about what I've done in 2023, the pros and cons, the ups and downs, and what I learned. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the failures. I know everybody wants to talk about successes. Man, I learned so much from my failures and what I should have done and what missed opportunities and things like that. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel. I appreciate that. Hit that bell for notifications. And remember to smile more because it hurts less. Peace.